Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the show on the internet where myself, Dan Selcke of winteriscoming.net, and Mia Johnson of TorchRiderTheForce.com talk about all things fantasy, sci-fi, books, movies, television, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, superheroes, whatever is popping in the nerdosphere lately. Mia, how are you on this Wednesday, February the 3rd?
I'm pretty good. I had to rush back from Target because this Star Wars book just came out. They're like putting them out like every day now, it feels.
Yeah.
And of course, the shelf was empty. It looked like they may have had room for like 5 books and there was nothing there. So I was like, oh, great. But either way, I'm feeling good. I got some fresh air, shake myself
Yeah,
out. So I'm
it's always
happy.
good.
How about you?
I mean, it's so cold now that I can't even like ride my bike for fresh
But
air
not
anymore.
today. Today is like an anomaly.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Is it
The
warm?
last time I checked, it was like right now it's 30, but the sun was out and shining. And then it's like after this, it's all back downhill again.
Crap. Well, okay. We'll see. We can do anything after work. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Mia, we're here as always to report and analyze and discuss the news of the day. And we have some good stuff. Talk with some Game of Thrones stuff. If any of you out there are watching, I see y'all in the corner there. Feel free to comment, query us, ask questions, give comments. We'll respond to you. And if you would rather just listen to us at a remove, we are available in podcast form on iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are available. Okay, first up, Mia, we are, it's been a good couple of weeks for Game of Thrones news. We seem to be getting a lot of it. I guess things are just ramping up.
Yeah.
This most recent one came from a Spanish language website called Los Rellenos that were friendly with them. And they were doing that old-fashioned blogger thing where they were looking through the resumes of people who are involved with
Wow.
Game of Thrones. I mean, like the professional CVs. And
Yeah.
they found that Ramin Djawadi, who was the composer of Game of Thrones, some pretty iconic tunes there, da 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 da
Oh,
da
yeah.
da da da, and a lot of other great songs. They just came upon his CV. They found that he is completely working on House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel.
Ooh.
And then it was so unassailably true that HBO confirmed it.
Yay. Oh my
I
gosh.
love when
He's
that happens.
so awesome. Yeah.
He's wonderful, right? I mean, even if people didn't like the final 2 seasons, people pretty much agreed that his stuff was almost uniformly excellent.
Yeah. I thought he did something else that I heard it and I was like, oh, this is really awesome.
He did
And I was like, oh,
Westworld.
that was right. Yeah. I was like, oh, of course. Yeah, that theme.
And you're a
It's a
fan of Westworld.
banger. Oh, yeah. So I love him all around.
Yeah, he does those remixes. The Game of Thrones soundtrack is pretty iconic. And hello, Longlean. Hey, King K. Good to see you. Good to see you there. Yeah, I'm definitely happy that he's involved. That is a feather in the cap. That is something that I think almost needs to happen. Like, if they really want it to be a successor show, they got to have some continuity. They have Miguel Sapochnik, a showrunner. He's a great Game of Thrones director. Battle of the Bastards was a winner. And to have Ramin Djawadi there making some more kind of those sweeping Baroque sounding tunes.
Yeah.
Fit Game of Thrones like a glove. Would be very at home in this story. So that's good news.
Yeah. To me, it's kind of like having John Williams coming back to back for all of the Star Wars movies, or at least a majority of them. But yeah, to me, it's like you've got that iconic sound, and just to have it carry out throughout all the other shows is why not?
But of course, he can't be on for all of them because they are making far too many. Literally after our show last week wrapped, not minutes, we heard that, wait, I'm sorry. It didn't even happen. We heard that HBO's making a Dunk and Egg show. We heard HBO's making a Robert's Rebellion show. After we signed off, there was also a report from the Hollywood Reporter, I think, so somewhere, legit, saying that they're also considering an animated Game of Thrones show.
Yeah.
Which is going to be similar in tone to the main show. So a drama, not like Game of Thrones animated for kids or anything. It's going to be like an adult animated show. That is not it, by the way. That is a Game of Thrones anime trailer put together by a YouTuber named Malek, but it's fun looking, so I thought I'd throw it up there. Maybe it'll look like that. What do you think, Mia? Game of Thrones animated show, is the world ready for that?
Did they say animated or anime? You know,
Animated. I
animated.
doubt it's.
Okay.
I mean, it could be anime. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like if it was anime, they would clarify that. But I think that's pretty cool. We've gone more than 2 or 3 decades now where you have adult cartoons, and I'm
Oh yeah,
obviously from South Park to Simpsons, Family Guy, BoJack Horseman, all those things, Rick and
Rick and
Morty.
Morty.
So
Of course,
it's kind of weird though because most of those are comedies. I can't really think of one that is like a drama per se. Not to say it probably doesn't exist outside of anime, but yeah, it'll be kind of weird to be like, I'm watching an adult cartoon, but they're not gonna crack any jokes. Like some humor here and there, but it's gonna be all serious, probably really bloody and gory.
probably.
So
I mean, there's more Americans getting into that. Like, what was that like Blood of Zeus show on Netflix, where it's
mm,
like an American-made anime almost? That's happening more and more often.
yeah,
I mean, I don't have a problem with the idea of adult animation being serious. I mean, like you said, like I think we're all used to that. Like back when I was a kid, it was thought of as like a kids thing animation, but I think we're long past
yeah,
that. I wonder if it's needed, period, because so many shows, so many programs. I said last week they're trying to make it basically a Game of Thrones cinematic universe.
mhm,
They're going for it, man. I mean, that's potentially 4 shows, none of which, by the way, the other prequels, they're not like officially green lit. These are
yeah.
all things that have reported are in development. They maybe we were never meant to find out about them because they're never going to happen. But also, I think at least some of them are coming because HBO wants
Yeah.
this, needs this really to fight Disney and Netflix with.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last week. Even the Star Trek cartoon, even that one's got a little humor
Oh,
to it,
right.
doesn't it?
Yeah, Lower
Okay,
Decks. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
cute.
Okay, right, Lower Decks, yeah. So yeah, I'm like, I'm sure you can pull it off. I was even thinking about like Samurai Jack, but still, even that is like semi-anime, so it's kind of hard for me to
Oh,
separate
right.
the two. Like it's a cartoon, but it's not comedy. It's drama, but it's not anime. So I'm gonna be
Well, I
thinking
mean,
about that.
if we're talking about like adult animation, anime is such a reason we're even thinking of animation as adults that it's kind of hard to separate. It makes sense to me that a lot of like the adult animation made by Americans kind of resemble anime because
Hmm.
anime was what kind of showed people, oh, cartoons can do that, like
Yeah.
Akira back in the day or whatever,
Oh
or like
yeah,
the
yeah.
90s stuff. But I'd be cool with it. I think it'd be interesting. Maybe it could be a trailblazer in making like a non-anime inspired adult animated drama
Yeah.
by someone not in Japan would be sort of original.
Oh yeah.
I'd be fine with.
Okay. HBO's all over that. I'm
Ooh, a
sure.
good. I mean, I hope so. As Longling asks, I love this question. How you see so many GOT shows in the context of no one cares about GOT anymore narrative exists in social media? That's a good question because
Mhm.
that narrative, the fact that narrative exists at all, um, is kind of like defeats itself because like a lot of you sure are talking about how no one talks about Game of Thrones anymore. But I mean, do you know what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I don't know the discourse. I know all about the Star Wars discourse on social media. I don't know that much about the Game of Thrones discourse. But yeah, it is kind of like, well, why keep talking about it? Why keep fueling the fire if it's over, if it's done? And if, it's not on your mind anymore. If it's not on your mind anymore, just go and leave.
No, let
But
it go, people. I mean, this spinoff will be a test of whether it hits anymore. We'll see.
yeah.
But clearly HBO wants it. I think there's still pretty clearly an audience for it, but we'll see. Outside of the shows, which are coming fast and furious, we also got an update, a small update, as we always get, on The Winds of Winter by one Mr. George R.R. Martin, the author of the Song of Ice. There he is, the author of the
Hello.
Song of Ice and Fire books, bearded, vested. Is that a motorcycle hat? Is that what he wears? He always wears that thing.
Um, a motorcycle hat?
I don't know what to call it. Commenters,
Yeah.
what do you call that?
Help us with the hat terminology.
Because it's definitely a
Is
consistent
it?
hat.
It's not a
Anyway,
newsboy cap. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, same old story. He's been writing The Winds of Winter for literally a decade now. there was a time people were excited it might come out. He, by his own admission, just misses deadlines, and he gave a rare update, which we're getting more and more rare because there was a line in there about like, I don't want to set a date because whenever I do, assholes on the internet always take it as a promise and then crucify me when I don't hit it. I'm not going to do that. You can tell he's a little frustrated. Anyway, he basically said that 2020 was a great year for it. He wrote hundreds of pages of the Winds of Winter in 2020, the best year I've had on WoW since I began it. Maybe it was the isolation. Maybe it's just on a roll. I still have hundreds of more pages to write to bring the novel to a satisfactory conclusion. That's what 2021 is for, I hope. So, you know, whenever we do these, it's always kind of the same thing. Like, he's still doing it. It's coming along. That's basically the end.
Yeah, that's the news.
I'm glad to hear that he wrote a lot in 2020, which makes sense to me because my impression has always been that he's the kind of guy who, and I don't really relate to this, who just like has to be in a headspace to write. And if he is distracted at all, say by a hugely popular television show based on his work, he just doesn't get a lot done. Are you like that at all? Can you just like write wherever and just drop into it? Or do you have to like set the mood and light the candles and get on the writing outfit?
To me, it's kind of like, it's like exercise. It's like you, for some reason, you love doing it, or you know you need to do it, but it's like, I don't want to right now. But it's like, no, you have to. So to me, it sounds like he's a person who, it's like about the discipline and the willpower. And that's like one of those New Year's resolution things, like, oh, I need to, be better about writing at this time or exercising at this time or for this amount of time. You've got a point. Yeah, maybe he's a little bit distracted or stressed out. You know, HBO was trying to pull deals left and right with all of his other work. So I can see that distracting him as well. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I don't know his personal life. I don't know what's going on in that brain of his. But it all comes down to discipline, I think.
Hey, Jen. Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, he wrote a bunch in 2020, still writing some more. Maybe out this year, maybe it won't. I feel like we just repeat the same thing over and over in this session, but we have to mention it because
I know
it is a highly
do you like book. Do you like the updates when he does have them, like even if it is just, hey, I did some writing, or do you just kind of want like a bigger announcement even if it takes a longer amount of time for him to come out and say something?
I like the updates. I mean, he is right though. Whenever we post about it, there's invariably people who just kind of get back at us with just like, why is he writing this, not writing the book? And like just kind of being shady about it. And again, like when you get piled on, like all you see is the bad stuff. Like even if there are folks who are supportive, that's all that happens. So I get it. I don't really think of it as enjoyment. I think of it as a duty and just part of the daily grind. But we'll see what happens when it happens. Good for that. Good for it. Yay. All right. Hello, everybody. All right. So that's all the Game of Thrones news we got. Good signs. Ramin Djawadi is definitely a good thing to be on board. Frankly, any show, but especially a Game of Thrones show. I would watch a Game of Thrones animated series. Someone in the comments talked about Dany better have her purple eyes and her bald head, which I wonder if you could like. There has been, I mean, like talk among fans, but like, what if they just remade the normal story but animated form?
You have to fill me in on the bald head part.
Remember when Dany like goes into the fire and births the dragons at the very beginning of the series? Like in the books, the fire burns off her clothes and her hair. Her hair's gone.
Just gets singed off. Oh wow.
Oh yeah, she's bald for a big part of the story. And then again, when she goes into the fire in the Dothraki hut, just like her clothes burn away, but yeah, her hair burns off too. So they didn't go with that for, I think, obvious reasons. But maybe they will. I don't know. If they did.
They got me. Picture it. Yeah, all right. I'm over it.
Would you be like, what if they were going to just redo the whole story, but in animated form and re-put back in all the stuff cut from the books and kind of had like another swing at it? Does that sound appealing to you? Or, because I mean, we have no idea what the animated show is about, by the way. All we know is that it's an animated drama. Like I have no idea what it is. It could be the same thing, could be entirely different.
I almost feel like that would be a fan's dream, is to see like some of the other, and I don't know how, like one to one it is between the book and the series. But yeah, I'm just thinking like to see those actual scenes and not have them have like a magic Hollywood touch on them or something, but to be precisely the way it was written. It's always nice to the readers because they're like, oh, this was finally translated on screen, and I finally get to see it be that way. I get to see purple eyes and a bald head.
Just fun FYI, they did try the purple eyes on the show, but apparently the contacts hurt too much and like
Ew.
making their eyes water and cry. So they're like, no, lose them, lose purple eyes.
Yeah. No, I get that. I feel that. I hate wearing contacts so much. That's why I always wear glasses. So
I recommend the laser surgery. I got that. I've loved it.
I was literally thinking about that today. I don't know
You,
why.
you should do it. Oh my God. And when I got it, it was like early days. Like now they probably just like seat you down, shine one thing in your eye, and you're done.
Well,
Telling
gotta
you,
try
do
it out.
Okay. So there are other Game of Thrones, there are other non-Game of Thrones things happening in the world. King K says needs to follow the books, which I mean, the show did. Like I'll tell you, like Game of Thrones, the show is closer in adaptation than a lot of adaptations are. Still got away toward the end because it overtook it, but
Yeah.
it is more faithful than a lot of things I could think about. But yeah, we'll see if there are any more announcements on that front. Okay, other non-Game of Thrones news. HBO is making a new program called The Nevers, which I've been interested in for a while for a few reasons. I mean, it does sound a little fun. It's women in Victorian London with superpowers who are going to use them to fight the patriarchy, basically, is more or less the plot of it. Which sounds interesting. It's a big splashy fantasy, like special effects kind of a like fantasy show. Big cast, very big cast with some good actors in it. And it comes from Joss Whedon, the creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, the first two Avengers movies, and recent scandal-prone Gentleman, who has since exited the show under mysterious-ish circumstances. But they're going ahead with it. They have a new showrunner. They're gonna do it, and I thought we'd watch the trailer for a tick and see and what we think. Because, well, we'll just play it and we'll see what we think.
Yeah, let's go.
Run it. Did you watch this before?
It came 3 years ago. A power that mocks God. Those afflicted, untouched.
Mrs. True?
Miss Adair?
Being touched is not a defect of character.
With this war, the cops, the purists. There's no shortage of people who hate us.
Mrs. True and I, we've come to help with that.
We don't want more violence.
Okay, Mia, just first immediate reaction. Would you watch that?
Yeah, I have to give this a yes.
No, me too. I mean, it's colorful, it's bold. There's like some witticisms, there's some ass kicking. Like it does look fun. Like I'm not gonna lie and say that it looks horrible right at the bat, which I'm not surprised by. The thing with Joss Whedon is that like there's been so much discourse about him of late, but at the end of the day, like he was known for making sort of like fun, fast-moving, quippy shows that were easy to watch.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a bad thing. I like that it's original too. It's not like, it's not based off anything. It's original idea. Kind of these like steampunk vibe, but also magic powers, but also there's like a weird custom-made three-wheeled car in there that was zooming through London streets.
Oh, yeah.
There are people who are trying to suppress these, basically X-Men women.
That's what I was, yeah.
It's got a very X-Men vibe, totally, yeah.
I think that's
very
what
like
kind of
X-Men in Victorian times.
Yeah, that's kind of what sold me over. And for some reason, I don't know why, but a lot of the stuff that I watch maybe it's just a sign of the times to end up being like Victorian England. So they used to do a lot of that stuff recently with Doctor Who, Enola Holmes.
Well, yeah.
Any kind of Sherlock Holmes stuff, to be honest.
That's true,
So I'm
yeah.
like, I find myself watching a lot of stuff during this period. So it just kind of seems natural that I would kind of take a peek and see what this is about anyway. And yeah, then it's just kind of like, but what if these people had like mutant type superpowers, which I was like, I wasn't even expecting. I know you told me about this
mentioned it,
before,
yeah.
but it just, I was a blank slate watching this. I was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool.
I mean, that's Whedon. He's been successful in the kind of nerd space until he wasn't, because
Yeah.
he likes superpower crap, and that's very in right now, if you've noticed. But as I think Jen says, yes, yeah, I would. Colorful, bold, original, fun. You can write. Although the other bit of it is like the weird meta narrative of Joss Whedon left the show for exhaustion. And basically, it's hard to make the show during pandemic conditions, which, okay, fair enough. 2020 was rough. There are questions of whether that's true or whether it's a cover for Warner Bros. Politely parting ways with him over whatever happened with the Ray Fisher situation in the Justice League movie. He stepped into director Zack Snyder couldn't. I mean, that story, the headline is always, we don't know what happened. So I can't say for sure if anything there relates.
Yeah, when stuff happens like that and it's so close, to one another, it's really like even your most clever cover up isn't even a cover up. Like, God, I'm thinking about like the Army Hammer stuff, all that weird stuff that's happened, and he's just been getting dropped left and right. So it's like you can't hide these things. But yeah, the whole thing about Joss Whedon, I think, and it's still really kind of is a conundrum in my brain, because it's like, well, maybe he had a huge influence on this project, but there's other actors who in this show, I don't think I saw any like big names.
Like Nick Frost from Shaun of the Dead was like there.
Okay.
I remember I can't remember her name. There's a actress I liked from the show Dollhouse that's in there, but I remember.
Okay, but yeah, so it's kind of like, this is a big show that's coming up. So these actors are getting a chance to kind of be a part of something really big, and it's gonna have a big audience and all the other people who are behind it. So that's why it's like I try not to put, when it comes to these things, like too much scoring into the creator, and because it's just one person out of 100 people who had to do this whole thing. Like,
I mean,
storyboard people,
yeah,
the catering, there's a lot of people who made this happen.
Like, especially a show of this scale, where it's like big special effects, set piece, period piece superhero show. It takes a lot of folk to put anything like that. It's not like it's a two-hander of two characters in a room talking. This is like a big production, which means a ton of workers, which is fine. So yeah, I will watch this. I think it's coming in April. No release date yet. And by the way, thank you for reminding me that it was Arnie Hammer. I was writing about Charlie Hunnam, whatever.
Hummus.
Earlier this week, and I was like, wait, wasn't he the one who like had weird sex texts or something? And I couldn't figure out why that was coming up. I'm like, no, it's Arnie Hammer. He had
you're probably thinking about him though, because of 50 Shades of Grey. So it's like fiction and reality. Yeah, but not Charlie, right? Yeah, no. Oh, you know what? I think he was.
That's a third guy.
Yeah, I think Charlie was.
Jamie Dornan.
This is
These
hilarious.
are three totally separate men.
I think Charlie Hunnam was supposed to be who was it, Mr. Grey or whatever you call him, or he was like in the running. I heard that a long time, Christian Grey, and then it ended up being not him. So now my fiction and reality is life is so strange these days.
I mean, there's three separate actors. We're getting confused. There are 4 different Chris's roaming Hollywood, just dominating things. I don't know why they're also okay. Whatever. That's another problem for another day. We also had some news I think you want to talk about. What was the latest news out of the Disney camp? How are they going to combat all these Game of Thrones series and Joss Whedon produced Victorian dramas.
Well, you gotta
Like they
fight
need
fire with fire, and you gotta just front load it with more. So this week, or at some point, Disney announced that Ryan Coogler, who's the director of Black Panther and Black Panther 2 coming out, is going to be directing a show based in Wakanda, which is like, the fictional world where Black Panther is from, and it's really cool. And he's got like a new 5-year deal with Disney between him and his like production studio. So I think part of that is producing the Wakanda show.
Right.
And then it's like Hollywood Reporter here says he's going to have a hand in some other Marvel shows as well. So it's like, holy cow, other Marvel shows. I'm like already so overwhelmed with, just the huge amount of shows that they have planned already. But I do like this idea. I can't say I don't like it.
Sure. Oh, no, completely. I mean, it is odd. I mean, I guess it's not odd because right now, I mean, how long ago did Chadwick Boseman pass? Was it?
It's been a couple of months now, since I think late August or early September.
Something around there. And like he was the Black Panther franchise, or at least the face of it. But it just shows you how quickly these franchises grow when Marvel is managing them, because they always are thinking so far ahead and have so many plans that there were already so many supporting characters you could use in like a television show, even if he's not around. Like Shuri, you had Angela Bassett's character, the mother. You could have Lupita Nyong'o's character in there.
And you know what? When last year, I think this was really early in the pandemic, and I had interviewed Winston Duke, who plays M'Baku. And everybody asked this question when they talk to someone who's like a part of the Disney circle. And I was like, what if you had an M'Baku spinoff? And he's like, oh, I'd love that. So
it can really happen if you're talking about Disney.
Yeah, I will gladly send my address to Kevin Feige so he can cut me my check for that idea. It was me first. And
Kevin Feige, I guarantee you, did not need your input to think of what if we spun off every single one of our characters into a show of their own.
No, don't tell me that.
He had that idea a long time ago.
Dang it. Well, I've got some leverage on Kevin Feige because I've seen some Marvel WandaVision leaks, but I won't talk about that right now.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter. You were saying that, by the way. I almost wanted to ask because it does sound juicy, but I don't want to know, obviously. Let's talk about WandaVision for a second, because obviously we're both watching that over on the Disney Plus. Although before we do, I do want to say to Jen, you're saying that you're watching Warrior on HBO Max and Hooked based on the writings of Bruce Lee. That sounds pretty cool. I haven't actually heard of that. Warrior on HBO Max. Is that an original show or just something they have? Because it sounds like something I would watch. I started watching The Lady in the Dale, which is a documentary series on HBO Max about, I'd never heard the story before, a trans woman who in the 70s had a huge role in kind of marketing this revolutionary 3-wheeled car and was living as a woman, but I think her life blows up when they find out her past as both, a man and a criminal. She had a criminal life for a while, but she had like a wife and 5 children and pretty interesting stuff. I had not heard the story before, but so far I'm very interested to find out how that documentary turns out, because I never heard of the 3-wheeled car either. I don't think it really goes anywhere, obviously. So that's the ending.
Right, yeah.
But that show's pretty interesting. And of course, we're both watching the WandaVision over on the Disney Plus. And I think the last episode was the one where we finally found out what was up.
Yes, that was really exciting. Because we didn't get to talk about episode 3, which was kind of like the 70s one. And she was like going through her birthing thing and pregnancy. But they kind of dropped that hint of like, you saw Monica Rambeau. Do we even know that was her name yet? I don't think so. But, she was like ejected from the Wanda world or Westview or wherever they were.
I like that.
Wanda world. And then in this last episode that just came out, it was like a pretty huge, it gave you some really huge answers to the questions you had, but it also like still left me wondering like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen next? I really, really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, I felt like it was time, right, to like give us some
Yeah.
context to pull the curtain back on some of this stuff. Because obviously we can't go on thinking that she's literally living in a sitcom forever.
Yeah.
Like something that's going on. What is it? It was the right time to pull back and say, yeah, everyone else thinks it's weird too. And they're trying to figure out what is happening in this town that Wanda has apparently taken over. Very like Children of the Corn, like Twilight Zone style. In that she's just this like creepy force that's making people act differently, but has some kind of justification for it, I'm sure. So like, you've read the leak, so I'm not going to ask about that, but like, do we think it's just the obvious thing? She's traumatized by, the death of Vision. Was she snapped away, by the way? I think she was.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, Vision was like dead, and then I think in Infinity War she was like holding him, and then you saw her. Speaking of dead Vision, God.
That was good. That was nice. I love these little horror moments they have in there.
Yeah, that got the heck out. Everyone I talked to, they were like, thanks, I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it.
But yeah, so the leaks actually that I saw weren't really any like revealing things like that. So I still don't know the whole mystery about what's going on. But I think, we're all kind of on the right path here about that. And yeah, it's really just kind of like we have to just wait and see what happens, or if they're able to kind of successfully get to her, because they tried to do that. We saw Randall Park's character, Jimmy, try to contact her through the radio. And we're like, oh, that was him doing that. And, she kind of got it, but she went back to her fantasy. And then they had the guy in the hazmat suit, and then he turned into the beekeeper. And I was like, wow, what a weird thing to happen. And then they explained the helicopter. So yeah, there's some really great payoffs, but still no huge answers. That we still have like 4 or 5 more episodes to go.
I think 5.
Yeah, because there's 9 in total.
As Christian asks, I think I have a theory about this. Are the people trapped or trying to help her? Like the other townsfolk, Catherine Hahn, people like that. Okay, I think neither. Okay, remember the scene at the episode opened with right after everyone was brought back and everyone was all traumatized and sort of like, what's going on, what's happening? Okay, my current working theory is that Wanda came back after 5 years of being, in the nothing space or whatever you go when you get snapped. Sees Vision is dead, has a mental breakdown of some kind, and decides to live in a sitcom. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say I think the other townsfolk are folk who are also snapped back and are having a lot of problems dealing with just the world. Like, we missed 5 years of things. Like, Monica's mother died. We saw that. Like, that would create some mass, like, worldwide trauma, right? Yeah. I think they are willing participants in the sitcom verse. I think they are there because they too want to escape. That's what they were like, all like being cagey about. Like, Geraldine has no home. She's not one of us. Except for Vision, who is like some kind of thing she made up. Wanda, he's not real.
Wow, it's Wanda's home for imaginary friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more like Wanda's playground to invite all the other traumatized folk over who don't want to deal with their reality anymore. Come on over here and like live in this weird reality bubble with me. That's my current theory.
I really like that. And it's funny because when they said that it's not a real town, like it just appeared out of nowhere, it's like, okay, well, yeah, then where did these people come from? What were they up to? Were they real? And even, so it is interesting that when they were doing the whole board with like the names and stuff, they were starting to identify people. And they also had like ID cards or something, which was kind of interesting. I think everybody but Agnes had an ID card. And so, but the other thing was interesting is that when they were announcing each person's real name, they didn't tell us Agnes's real name. So I'm like, what is up with her? Who is she and what is she too?
She's the worst one.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting mystery to figure out. I also have to, give props to Kat Dennings, who came back as Darcy after.
That was nice,
like,
right? That was nice.
we haven't seen her since I think 2013 when Thor Dark World came out, which
Those Marvel folk have long memories.
yeah, I'm like, she really deserved this kind of redemption because they really did her dirty in those other two movies, even though she's a fine actress.
Those
and she
movies
can,
did themselves dirty.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, she gets this redemption. I think she's gonna be in Thor: Love and Thunder too.
She said she
is
doesn't think she will be.
Okay. So yeah, so maybe it was just this. But yeah, I'm like, okay, at least she gets some sort of redemption moment. And I was like, same for Natalie Portman when she's in Love and Thunder. They kind of need the third phase Marvel treatment or revamp, shall I say?
Yeah. Like, that's why I can't really get that mad at Marvel, because I mean, that's a smart move. Like, bring back a character who's established, but not like a huge character. Like, they can fit in somewhere and give the fans that hit of like, I remember them dopamine, but also have a character who can be useful in the situation.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, that's smart. It's intelligent. It's smart. It's smart thinking. It's good writing. I liked having her back too. And it's why it scares me, because with that kind of intelligence, they can take over the world. And I mean, they already have, basically.
Yeah.
Anything else you're watching, Mia, or anyone else out there? I like the note about Warrior, Jen. I might check that out.
Yeah, I've just been trying to catch up on Clone Wars. I'm like, slowly but surely I will catch up to that. And then there's, like Rebels and Resistance, and but it's really it is so well made. So I can't be mad at it. But there are times when I was just gonna say, there are times when there's filler episodes. Like there's one with like Jar Jar Binks and he's like acting a fool, and I'm like, I know this is fun for the kids. I just want to get to like the real plot of the season.
I was gonna ask, like, we were talking about adult animation. Do you consider that adult animation or sometimes?
No, by and far, no. It does have the quality of a kid's show, like coming on Cartoon Network or something, or whatever, it aired on, minus like some really, like, sometimes it really does get real in the Clone Wars. And I'm like, oh, okay. But, as a kid, it just, it would go over your head. But as an adult, I think that's something that Dave Filoni does, is he still makes it enjoyable for you to watch. Sure. But when they bring in, like Jar Jars and oof for 30 minutes, and I'm kind of like, all right.
Fair enough. Before we sign off, there was a bunch of news this week that it's not all important to talk about. I do want to go through a really quick, just short list of things that are important that I wanted to mention. Wonder Woman 1984 continues to smash it on HBO Max. It did really well, which basically tells me they made the right move. They're going to keep doing it. Sorry to Christopher Nolan. Cloris Leachman died at 94. I was upset to hear that. I mean, you're a Mel Brooks fan, right?
I do like him, yeah.
So you remember her from Young Frankenstein and stuff?
Oh my God. Right. That's so right.
Yeah. Frau Blucher.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that hurts. But 94 again is a very old age to live. So,
Oh, yeah. That's a rich life.
Cecily Tyson, too, was like 90 something.
Cecily Tyson,
and she just passed. So, yeah, I was like, man, if I ever get to live that long.
That's the kind of age where like they die, and obviously you're sad, but you can't. It's like more of like a celebratory tone almost of look at how cool they were, not like they were taken too soon. Like no, that they weren't, but they lived longer lives. Netflix's Shadow and Bone show's coming up. They released photos for that. I think we'll probably cover that when it comes out. I'll try. Have you heard of that at all? That was like
I think we talked
YA
about it,
series little bit ago that blew up kind of in between the Twilight era and now.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Shadow and Bone. Yep.
And they released the cast list or some of it for The Sandman on Netflix, which I'm looking forward to a lot because I love that Neil Gaiman comic book with Gwendolyn Christie and Charles Dance, who played Tywin Lannister's in it too. Love Game of Thrones actors in it. Just getting them all back together. So that'll be great. And I'm sure we'll cover some of that when it comes out. And anything else you guys want us to cover, let us know what you're interested. Oh, yes, Christian, High Anxiety. She was so good in that, like as the the psychiatry, sort of like Nurse Ratchety nurse on the
wow,
psych
I haven't
ward.
seen that
So
one.
good. It's good. She's the best part of that particular one. I love that one. Anyway, thanks for watching us, guys. We are here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, talking about fantasy, sci-fi, movies, TV, books occasionally. You never know. And we'll be back with more next week. See you then, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.